My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm 58 years old, and today I need to tell you something I haven't been able to tell anyone. Not my wife, not my daughter, not my buddies at the truck stop. Hell, I could barely admit it to myself. I fell in love with a 27-year-old woman, a woman the same age as my daughter. 31 years between us. You think I'm crazy? You're right. I know it. I've told myself 1,000 times. But knowing something is wrong doesn't make the feeling go away. This is my confession. The story of a 58-year-old man who, for the first time in his life, felt truly alive again. And it scared the hell out of me. Listen, I've been driving for 30 years. Long-haul trucks, overnight delivery routes, Uber and Lyft when those came around. Whatever paid the bills. You do what you gotta do, right? I had a wife to support, a daughter to put through college, a mortgage that never seemed to get smaller. So I drove, and drove, and drove some more. But somewhere along those 30 years of highways and service stations and bad coffee at 3 in the morning, I lost myself. Completely. I became invisible, even to myself. My life became this endless loop: wake up at dawn, drive, come home exhausted, eat dinner in silence, fall asleep in front of the TV, repeat. For 30 years. No dreams left. No goals. Nothing to look forward to except the paycheck every 2 weeks. My wife Margaret is 55. We've been married 30 years. She's a good woman, don't get me wrong. Never complains when I leave before sunrise. Never nags when I get home at midnight smelling like diesel and sweat. She cooks, she cleans, she keeps the house running like clockwork. The perfect wife by every traditional measure. But somewhere along the way, we stopped talking. Really talking. Our conversations became scripts. Mechanical. Predictable. Dinner's ready. Thanks. You working late tomorrow? Yeah. Don't forget to take your blood pressure pills. Okay, that was it. 30 years of marriage, and we had nothing to say to each other anymore. Not because we hated each other. We just got used to each other. Like furniture. Like wallpaper. Essential, I guess, but invisible. Sometimes I'd watch her in the kitchen, washing dishes, her back to me. I used to love that back. In her 20s, she had this way of moving that made my heart race. Now it was just part of the scenery. No butterflies. No excitement. Just there. I thought that's what marriage was supposed to be. I thought everyone felt this way after 3 decades. But lately, this question kept creeping into my mind at night. Is this really it? Is this all there is until I die? Our daughter Jessica is 28, works at a big pharmaceutical company downtown. She's my pride and joy. Smart, successful, independent. But she barely calls anymore. Maybe once a week if I'm lucky. Dad, I'm slammed at work. I'll call you back, I promise. And then she doesn't. Can't blame her, though. I was never really there. Her elementary school play? Missed it had a delivery deadline. Her high school graduation? Made it to the parking lot, but the ceremony had already started, so I just went home. Her college acceptance letters? I was on a 3-day haul to Memphis. I told myself I was doing it for her. Being a provider. Being responsible. But looking back now, I wonder if I was just running away. Running from the intimacy and vulnerability that comes with actually being present. It was easier to hide behind a steering wheel. And then March 12th happened. A Saturday. The day everything changed. I just finished an overnight Uber shift, pulling into my driveway at 6 a.m., dead tired, ready to collapse into bed. My phone buzzed. Jessica. Dad, you busy this weekend? Her voice had this lightness I hadn't heard in months. Usually when she called, it felt obligatory, rushed, but this time was different. What's going on, sweetie? My friend needs help moving. Heavy furniture stuff. I thought maybe you could. Since you're strong and have helped people move before. I should have said no. I was exhausted. My back was killing me. I needed sleep. But when your daughter asks for help, especially when you've failed her so many times before, you don't say no. The guilt won't let you. Yeah, I can help. When? Today, around 2? I looked at my bed like a man looks at an oasis in the desert. Then I sighed. Sure, honey. Text me the address. I dragged myself to the shower. Shaved carefully, trimmed my beard. Put on clean jeans, not my work ones, and a button-down shirt I only wore to church. Why? I don't know. Maybe I didn't want to look like some worn-out trucker in front of my daughter's friend. Stupid vanity from a man who had no business being vain. Margaret made me eggs and toast. Where are you going? She asked, not even looking up from her coffee. Helping Jess's friend move. Oh, drive safe. Yep. That was it, the sum total of our morning interaction. At 1:30 p.m., I caught the bus across town to Riverside. Apartments, one of those new developments with a Whole Foods and a Starbucks and young professionals in yoga pants walking designer dogs. I watched them through the bus window. Clean, energetic, living in a world I didn't belong to. Jessica was waiting at the entrance, scrolling on her phone. Dad, she actually smiled. Hey, kiddo, thanks so much for doing this. Sarah's been stressing about this move for weeks. We walked to the elevator. The mirror showed me exactly what I was, a tired 58-year-old man with crow's feet and gray, streaking through his hair, wearing clothes that tried too hard. I looked out of place, like a relic from another era. Dad, Sarah's really quiet, Jessica said as we rode up to the 12th floor. She doesn't talk much, but she's sweet. I think you'll like her. Sure. She reminds me of you, actually. Calm, reliable, doesn't waste words. Something about that made me stand a little straighter. My daughter thought I was reliable. That meant something. 12th floor. Apartment 1205, Jessica knocked. After a moment, the door opened, and my entire world shifted on its axis. There stood a woman. Average height, maybe 5'5". Short brown hair, simply cut. Wearing a gray sweater and jeans. No makeup that I could see. Not conventionally beautiful, at least not in the Instagram way everyone's supposed to look these days. But her eyes, God, her eyes, they were calm. Ancient, almost. But underneath that calm was this deep well of sadness. Like she'd seen things, lived through things, carried things that weighed her down. I recognized that look because I saw it in my own mirror every morning. Hello. Her voice matched her eyes. Soft but steady. Strong but gentle. Most young people don't look directly at older folks. They glance away, awkward, like we're reminders of their own mortality. But this woman, Sarah, she looked straight at me. Really looked. Saw me. And something woke up inside me. Something I thought had died decades ago. You must be Jessica's father, she said. Yes, ma'am. Robert. Thank you so much for helping. I really appreciate it. No problem at all. She stepped aside and we entered her apartment. A studio, maybe 650 square feet. Small but meticulously organized. Plants on the windowsill. Books arranged by color on built-in shelves. Everything had its place. Minimal but warm. Lived in. Like someone who found comfort in simplicity. Cardboard boxes were stacked against one wall. I hope this isn't too much, Sarah asked, and I heard genuine concern in her voice. Not entitlement. Not expectation. Just concern. This? Nah, I've moved entire warehouses. I was trying to sound capable. Strong. Why did I care what she thought? I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. The first box was heavier than expected, packed with hardcover books. Philosophy. Poetry. Novels I'd never heard of. Careful, Sarah said softly. That one's heavy. I got it. I carried it to the elevator, then down to the U-Haul truck parked outside. Then back up. Another box. Down again. Up again? Maybe 10, 12 trips. My back screamed. Sweat soaked through my shirt. My breath came harder. At 58, you can't hide your age, no matter how hard you try. Please, take a break, Sarah said, appearing beside me with a water bottle. Cold. Beaded with condensation. Thanks. When I took the bottle, our fingers touched. Maybe a tenth of a second. Barely noticeable, but I noticed. Time slowed down in that tiny moment, like someone had pressed pause on the universe. I drank. The water was perfect, ice cold, exactly what I needed. You're exhausted, aren't you? She asked. Nah, I'm fine. You're lying. She smiled. A small, knowing smile. You're sweating through your shirt. You can barely catch your breath. The smile wasn't mocking. It was kind, honest, like she actually cared. Then she did something that broke me a little. She brought out a warm towel. One of those small hand towels, heated up, fresh and clean. Here, please. I started to refuse old habits, male pride, but she just placed it in my hands. Use it. The towel was warm, soft. I wiped my face, and as I did, emotion hit me like a freight train. When was the last time someone took care of me like this? When was the last time Margaret brought me a warm towel? When had my daughter last worried if I was okay? I couldn't remember. This stranger, this 27-year-old woman I'd known for 90 minutes, showed me more tenderness than I'd felt in years. I looked up. Sarah was watching me with those eyes again, and I thought, she's different. We finished the move around 6. I rode the bus home as the sun set, staring out the window, not really seeing anything. Margaret had dinner waiting. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans. The same rotation we'd eaten for 3 decades. We spent the next 3 hours assembling that bookshelf. 3 hours that felt like 30 minutes, or maybe 30 years. Time became meaningless when we were together. Sarah had this way of focusing, completely present. When she handed me a screw or held a panel in place, she wasn't distracted, wasn't checking her phone, wasn't thinking about the next thing. She was just there, fully engaged. It's rare, you know? In a world where everyone's half present, always looking at screens, always somewhere else in their minds, she was different. Can I ask you something? She said as we attached the final shelf. Sure. Why do you do this? Help people move, build furniture. You don't even know me. I stopped tightening the screw. Good question. Why was I here? Because my daughter asked, I said. The safe answer. The dad answer. Sarah smiled. That small, knowing smile again. Is that the only reason? Our eyes met. And in that moment, I felt more exposed than I'd felt in decades. Like she could see right through the excuses, the deflections, the armor I'd built up over 30 years of emotional hibernation, I guess. I started, then stopped. Honesty felt dangerous, but also necessary. I guess it's nice to feel needed, useful. At my age, you start to feel invisible, like you're just taking up space. This helping people, it reminds me I still have purpose. The words tumbled out before I could stop them, more honest than I'd been with anyone, including myself. Sarah's expression softened. You're not invisible. 3 words. Simple, but they hit me like a medicine I didn't know I needed. You see things, she continued? I can tell. Most people move through life blind, you know? They're there, but they're not present. They don't notice the small things. But you do. I saw it when you were moving my boxes. You noticed the books, the plants. You picked up that broken mug carefully, like you understood it might have sentimental value. I had noticed. The mug had a crack, but she'd packed it carefully. Must have meant something to her. Most people wouldn't have seen that, she said. But you did. That's not invisible. That's rare. My throat tightened. When had anyone last said something like that to me? Margaret certainly never had. Not in years. Maybe not ever. Thank you, I managed. I mean it. She stood up, brushed dust off her jeans. Want some coffee? I make pretty good coffee. Sure. She went to the kitchen, really just a corner with a counter and small stove, and started grinding beans. The sound filled the silence. I sat on her couch, this old green thing that looked like it came from a thrift store, but was comfortable in that worn, familiar way. The apartment was quiet, peaceful. No TV blaring, no demands, just space to breathe. I hadn't realized how suffocating my own house felt until I experienced this. Sarah brought 2 mugs, sat down next to me, not across from me, next to me, maybe 3 feet of space between us on the couch. So, she said, tell me about you. Real stuff, not the dad stuff. Who is Robert Mitchell when he's not being someone's father or husband or driver? The question stunned me. Who was I? I drew a blank. Total, complete blank. I don't know, I admitted. You don't know? No. I stared into the coffee. I've been a husband for 30 years, a father for 28, a driver for 30. But me? Just me? I'm not sure that person exists anymore. If he ever did. Sarah sipped her coffee, watching me over the rim. When's the last time you did something just for yourself? Something that had nothing to do with work or family obligations? I thought back. Months? Years? I couldn't remember. Exactly, she said, reading my face. You disappeared. You became a function instead of a person. Is that what happened to you? I asked. 2 could play at this game. She didn't flinch. Yes, that's exactly what happened to me. Want to talk about it? Do you want to hear it? I do. She took a breath. I was engaged 3 years ago. His name was David. We were supposed to get married in the fall. Big wedding, 200 guests, the whole thing. I designed the invitations myself. Past tense. I noticed. 2 months before the wedding, I found him in bed with my maid of honor, my best friend since college. Jesus. I called off the wedding. Lost most of my friends. Turns out they knew and didn't tell me. Thought they were protecting me. Or maybe they just didn't want the drama. Either way, I ended up alone. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me something important. People will disappoint you. They'll lie. They'll choose comfort over courage. And you can't change that. All you can do is decide who you are when no one's watching. The wisdom in her words didn't match her age. 27 going on 70. She'd lived through something and it had carved depth into her. So you moved here? I asked. Started over. New job, new apartment, new life. It's lonely sometimes, but it's mine. The way she said mine with such quiet pride made me jealous. When had I last felt ownership over my own life? What about you? She asked. Are you happy? The question hung in the air like smoke. Was I happy? I'm content, I lied. That's not what I asked. Damn, she was good. No, I said quietly. I'm not happy. Haven't been for a long time. Why not? Because I stopped living. I just existed. Went through the motions. And now I'm 58 and I look back and I can't remember the last time I felt alive. Really alive. Until I stopped. Almost said it. Almost admitted until I met you. But I couldn't. That would be crossing a line I couldn't uncross. Sarah waited. Didn't push, just gave me space. It's complicated, I finished lamely. Life usually is. We sat in silence. Comfortable silence. The kind you only get with someone who understands that sometimes words aren't necessary. My phone buzzed. Text from Margaret. When will you be home? Dinner's ready. Reality crashed back in. I was a married man, sitting on another woman's couch, drinking coffee, having deep conversations, feeling things I had no right to feel. I should go, I said, standing up. Yeah, of course. Sarah stood too, walked me to the door. At the threshold, she put her hand on my arm. Robert? Yeah? Thank you. For today. For listening. It's been a while since I talked to someone who actually heard me. Same here. We stood there. Too close. Too long. I could feel the pull, this magnetic thing that defied logic and age and appropriateness. All I had to do was lean in. Just a few inches. Instead, I stepped back. Take care, Sarah. You too. I walked to the elevator, every step feeling like I was leaving something important behind. On the bus home, I stared at my reflection in the window. An old man. Tired. Graying. What the hell was I doing? What was I thinking? She was 27. Beautiful. Smart. She had her whole life ahead of her. And I was a washed-up driver with a beer gut and failing eyesight who hadn't read a book in a decade. This was pathetic. Embarrassing. I needed to stop this before it went any further. Margaret was waiting when I got home. Pot roast on the table. My favorite, supposedly, though I couldn't remember the last time I'd actually enjoyed it. How was it? She asked. Fine. Just helped her assemble some furniture. Just the two of you? There it was. The question underneath the question. Jessica was supposed to be there, but got called into work, I said. Not technically a lie. Margaret served herself pot roast. This girl, Sarah, she single? I think so. Why? Just wondering why she keeps asking a married man for help instead of asking a boyfriend. The accusation was subtle but clear. I felt defensive anger rise up. What right did she have to be jealous after 30 years of emotional absence? But I swallowed it. She's Jessica's friend. I'm helping as a favor to our daughter. Right. Of course. She ate in silence. But the silence felt different now. Charged, like a storm gathering. That night I couldn't sleep again. Margaret snored softly beside me, and all I could think about was that apartment, that couch, that conversation. The way Sarah looked at me. Not like a father figure. Not like an old man. Just like a person. Someone worth listening to. Someone who mattered. I hadn't felt that way in years. Around 2 a.m. I got up. Went to the bathroom. Looked at myself in the mirror under the harsh fluorescent light. Every wrinkle visible. Every gray hair. Every mark of time. What are you doing, Robert? I asked my reflection. It didn't answer. 2 weeks passed. I didn't hear from Jessica. Didn't hear from Sarah. Life returned to normal, if you could call the gray monotony of my existence normal. But something had changed inside me. I couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. I'd felt something, and now its absence was excruciating. I found myself driving past Riverside Apartments on my Uber shifts, just to see the building. Like a teenager with a crush. Pathetic. Margaret noticed, too. You've been distracted, she said one morning. Just tired. You're always tired. But this is different. I didn't respond. What could I say? Then, 3 weeks after that second visit, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Robert, a female voice. Familiar but uncertain. My heart stopped. Sarah? Yeah. Sorry to call out of the blue. I got your number from Jessica. I hope that's okay. It's fine. Is everything all right? I wanted to say thank you. Again, for helping me. And for listening. It meant a lot. You don't have to thank me. I know, but I wanted to. A pause. Also, I was wondering. There's this art exhibit downtown. Photography. It's supposed to be really good. I don't really know anyone here yet, and I thought, maybe you'd want to go? Saturday came like a death sentence I'd volunteered for. Margaret left at noon to visit her sister in Cleveland. I'll be back around 8, she said, gathering her purse. There's leftover chicken in the fridge. Drive safe, I said, avoiding her eyes. She paused at the door, looked back at me. You okay? You seem different lately. I'm fine, just tired. She didn't believe me. I could see it in her face. But she also didn't want to know. Sometimes ignorance is easier than truth, so she left. I stood in the empty house. The silence was deafening. The ticking clock, the hum of the refrigerator, the sound of a life unlived. I went to the bedroom, opened my closet. What do you wear to meet a woman 31 years younger? What do you wear when you're pretending you're not as old as you are? I chose a navy button-down shirt Margaret had bought me 3 Christmases ago. Still had the tags on it. Dark jeans without holes. My good leather shoes, the ones I wore to Jessica's college graduation. Cologne, just a little. Then a little more. I looked in the mirror, still old, still tired. But maybe a little less invisible. At 2:30, I drove downtown, found parking 3 blocks from the gallery. Walked slowly, my heart hammering with each step. This was insane. Criminal, almost. I was married. She was 27. What the hell was I doing? But I kept walking. The gallery was one of those converted warehouse spaces, exposed brick, high ceilings, track lighting. Young people milled around with wine glasses, speaking in that performative way people do at art exhibits. I felt like an alien who'd landed on the wrong planet. Then I saw her. Sarah stood in front of a massive black and white photograph, a close-up of an elderly woman's hands, wrinkled and spotted, holding a young girl's hand. The contrast was stunning. Age and youth, experience and innocence. She wore a simple black dress. Nothing fancy. Her hair was down, falling just past her shoulders. She looked. God, she looked beautiful in a way that made my chest ache. Robert, she said, turning. Her face lit up. Actually lit up. When was the last time someone's face did that when they saw me? Hi. My voice came out rougher than intended. I'm so glad you came. I wasn't sure you would. Why wouldn't I? She smiled. That knowing smile. 100 reasons. But you're here. That's what matters. We walked through the exhibition together. Black and white photographs, all exploring themes of time, memory, loss. Each image was a meditation on mortality. Sarah stopped in front of one, a photograph of an abandoned swing set. Chains rusted, seat broken, weeds growing through the mulch. What do you see? She asked. Death, I said without thinking. The death of childhood. The death of joy. She looked at me surprised. Most people say they see nostalgia. You see death? Everything dies. Childhood. Dreams? Love. We just pretend it doesn't until we're standing in front of the corpse. The words came out bitter. Harsh. I regretted them immediately. But Sarah nodded. Yes, exactly. That's what this whole exhibit is about. The photographer lost his daughter to cancer. She was 9. He made this work as a way to process it. Every image is about loss. We stood in silence, looking at the broken swing. I lost someone too, Sarah said quietly. My mother. 2 years ago, pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to death. I'm sorry. She was 52. My age now, plus 25 years. That's all I have. 25 more years until I'm the age she was when she died. Assuming I'm lucky. The math was brutal. Honest. The kind of honesty that cuts through bullshit and pretense. Is that why you moved here? I asked. To start over after she died? Partly. After David, my ex, and after Mom. I needed to be somewhere where no one knew me. Where I could just exist without carrying everyone's expectations and pity. We moved to the next photograph. A close-up of a clock, its hands frozen at 3:47. Time stopped, Sarah said. That's what people don't understand about grief. They think you move on, but you don't. Time stops at the moment of loss, and you spend the rest of your life trying to restart it. I understood. Completely. My time had stopped years ago. Maybe when Jessica left for college. Maybe when Margaret and I had our last real conversation, whenever that was. The clock kept ticking, but I wasn't moving forward. Just circling the same dead space. Can I ask you something? Sarah turned to face me. Why did you really come today? The question hung between us. Heavy. Dangerous. I could have lied. Should have lied. Given some safe answer about appreciating art or supporting a friend. Instead, I told the truth. Because when I'm with you, I feel alive. For the first time in decades, I feel like I exist. Like I matter. Like I'm more than just a function. Her eyes widened, then softened. Robert, I know it's wrong. I know I'm too old. I know I'm married. I know all the reasons this is impossible and inappropriate and pathetic. but I can't help it. Being near you is like remembering what it feels like to breathe. Silence. Long, stretching silence. I'd said too much. Crossed the line. Ruined everything. Then Sarah did something I didn't expect. She took my hand. Just held it. Her fingers interlaced with mine. Warm. Real. Present. You're not pathetic, she said softly. You're honest. Do you know how rare that is? Most people spend their entire lives lying to themselves about what they feel. You just told me the truth. That takes courage. Or stupidity. Maybe both. She smiled. Come on, let's get out of here. I know a place. We left the gallery. Walked 3 blocks to a small coffee shop. I'd never noticed one of those places, with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. We sat in a corner booth away from the windows. She ordered black coffee. I ordered the same. We sat across from each other, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. I need to tell you something, Sarah finally said. Something I haven't told anyone else. Okay, the reason I moved here wasn't just to escape. It was because I was falling apart. After David, after Mom, I spent 6 months barely functioning. I'd wake up and couldn't find a reason to get out of bed. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping, just stopped. She traced the rim of her coffee cup with one finger. One night, I took a bottle of pills to the bathroom. Sleeping pills. I poured them into my hand. Counted them. There were 47. I thought, that's enough. That's more than enough. My blood went cold. But then my phone rang. Wrong number. Some woman asking for Linda. I said, no, sorry, wrong number. And she said, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you. And I said, it's okay. Have a good night. And she said, you too, sweetheart. Sarah looked up at me. That word, sweetheart. From a complete stranger. It broke something in me. I cried for 3 hours, put the pills back in the bottle. Called the therapist the next morning. Jesus, Sarah, I'm telling you this because you need to understand something. I see you, Robert. I see the deadness in your eyes, the exhaustion, the resignation. I recognize it because I've been there. And I'm telling you, it gets better. Not easily, not quickly, but it does get better. She reached across the table, took both my hands in hers. You think you're pathetic for feeling alive around me? But you're not. You're human. You're someone who's been sleepwalking through life for so long that you forgot what it feels like to be awake. And now you're waking up and it's terrifying and confusing and inappropriate, yes. But it's also real. And real is better than numb. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. This woman, this 27-year-old woman, saw through me completely. Understood me in a way no one had in years. Maybe ever. I'm not asking you to leave your wife, she continued. I'm not asking for anything. But I am telling you that you deserve to feel alive. You deserve to exist as more than just a provider, more than just a function. You deserve to be seen. A tear rolled down my cheek, one single tear. I couldn't remember the last time I'd cried. Thank you, I whispered. We sat there, hands clasped across the coffee shop table, and something shifted. Not romantic love, not sexual attraction, something deeper. Recognition. 2 broken people seeing each other's fractures and finding comfort in the shared damage. Around 6, we left the coffee shop. Walked back to where I'd parked. The sun was setting, casting everything in gold and orange. At my truck, Sarah hugged me. A real hug. Long. Tight. The kind of hug that says, I see you. I know you. You're not alone. Thank you for today, she said. I should be thanking you. Then we're even. She stepped back. Robert, be careful driving home. And think about what I said. You deserve to be happy. I drove home in a daze. The streets passed by like a dream. My phone buzzed around 7:30. Margaret, running late. Be home around 9:30. Relief flooded through me. More time to compose myself. Had to put the mask back on. But when I got home, I didn't go inside right away. I sat in the truck in the driveway, engine off, staring at the house I'd lived in for 28 years. I thought about Sarah's words. About deserving happiness. About being more than a function. I thought about Margaret inside, probably watching TV, living her own quiet life of resignation. I thought about Jessica, who barely called, who'd grown up without really knowing me. I thought about the 47 pills Sarah had almost taken, about wrong numbers and strangers calling each other sweetheart, about the thin line between choosing life and choosing death. And I realized something that hit me like a punch to the gut. I was already dead. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Jessica sat on the bed, her left arm in a sling, a butterfly bandage on her forehead. The doctor said she was lucky, minor concussion, sprained shoulder, some bruising. The other driver had run a red light. Not her fault. But as Margaret and I sat on either side of her bed, I felt like it was entirely my fault. Like my betrayal, even if only emotional, had somehow caused this. Like the universe was punishing me through my daughter. I'm so tired, Jessica said, her voice small. Young. She sounded like she did at 7, not 28. Can you both just stay just for a bit? Of course, Margaret said, taking her hand. I took her other hand. And the three of us sat there in silence, connected by touch but separated by everything unsaid. Around midnight, Jessica fell asleep. The nurse said we should go home, that she'd be released in the morning. Margaret and I walked to the parking lot together. Separate cars, separate lives, but walking side by side the way we used to 30 years ago. I'll follow you home, she said. Not a question. A statement. The drive was short but felt eternal. Every red light was a countdown. Every turn brought me closer to the conversation I had been avoiding for decades. Inside our house, Margaret didn't even take off her coat. She stood in the kitchen, her back to me, hands gripping the counter. How long? She asked. What? Don't. Just don't. She turned around. Her eyes were dry but hard. How long have you been seeing someone? I'm not. Robert. I've been married to you for 30 years. You think I don't notice? You've been different. Lighter. Like you've been carrying something secret. Something that makes you smile when you think I'm not looking. Guilt flooded through me, but also surprisingly relief. The lying was over. Her name is Sarah, I said quietly. She's Jessica's friend, the one I helped move. How old? 27. Margaret laughed. Actually laughed. But it was the saddest sound I'd ever heard. Of course she is. Is she beautiful? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me, Robert. Explain how my husband spends his afternoons with a woman young enough to be his daughter, and it's not like that. I sat down at the kitchen table, suddenly exhausted. Ancient. Nothing happened, I said. I haven't touched her. Not like that. We just talk. Just talk. She said it like it was the worst thing imaginable. And maybe it was. You know what's funny? I could forgive sex. Bodies are bodies. Meaningless. But talking, connecting, that's intimate. That's betrayal. She was right. Completely right. Why? Margaret asked. Why her? Why now? What does she give you that I don't? The question hung there. Dangerous. Loaded. I could have lied. Should have lied. But I was so tired of lying. She sees me, I said. When I'm with her, I'm not just the driver. Not just the provider. Not just the invisible man who brings home a paycheck. She sees me as a person. As someone with thoughts and feelings and value beyond what I can do for others. And I don't? Margaret's voice cracked. Finally, emotion breaking through. I don't see you. When's the last time you asked me how I'm doing? Not, are you tired or did you eat? But really asked. When's the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about bills or Jessica or what needs to be fixed around the house? Silence. She couldn't answer because there was no answer. When's the last time you looked at me? I continued. Really looked. Not just glanced while walking past. When's the last time you touched me without it being obligatory? When's the last time we laughed together? So this is my fault, her voice rose. You're having an emotional affair with a girl our daughter's age, and it's my fault? No, it's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just, we stopped trying, Margaret. Both of us. We became roommates who share a mortgage and a daughter, and I didn't even notice until Sarah showed me what I'd lost. Margaret pulled out a chair, sat down across from me. When she spoke again, her voice was quiet, defeated. I know, she said. I've known for years, maybe 10 years, maybe 15. I'd wake up next to you and think, I don't know this person anymore. And it terrified me. So I did what I always do. I pretended everything was fine, kept the house running, kept the routine. Because routine is safe. Routine doesn't require vulnerability. This was the most honest conversation we'd had in a decade. Do you love her? Margaret asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. I don't love her. I love who I am when I'm with her. I love feeling seen, feeling human. But her, as a person, I barely know her. But you want to. Yes, more silence. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked. The foundations of our marriage cracked audibly. I could ask you to stop seeing her, Margaret said. I could make an ultimatum, her or me. You could, but I won't. Because here's the truth, Robert. I don't know if I want you to choose me. The words hit like a physical blow. The woman you're describing, the one who doesn't see you, who doesn't know you, she's right. That's who I've become. And I hate her. I hate the person I am in this marriage. The nag. The manager. The woman who's forgotten how to be anything but functional. She started crying, quiet tears sliding down her face. I'm 55 years old, she said, and I don't know who I am either. I've been Jessica's mom and Robert's wife and the woman who volunteers at the church for so long that I forgot there was supposed to be a me underneath all that. I reached across the table, took her hand, and for the first time in years, maybe ever, we really saw each other. We're both ghosts, I said. Yeah, we are. We sat there holding hands across our kitchen table, mourning the death of a marriage that had died years ago, but we'd never had the courage to bury. What do we do? I asked. I don't know, but I think, she took a shaky breath, I think we need to figure out who we are separately before we can figure out if we can be anything together. Is that separation divorce? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just honesty. The next morning, I picked up Jessica from the hospital. She was quiet on the drive home, staring out the window. Dad, she said finally. Yeah, honey? I know about Sarah. My heart stopped. What? I set it up. The whole thing. The moving help. The furniture. I knew you'd say yes because you feel guilty about never being there for me. And I knew Sarah would appreciate it because she's going through stuff. I pulled the car over. Had to. My hands were shaking too badly to drive. Why? I managed. Jessica turned to look at me. Really look at me. Because you've been disappearing, Dad. For years. Mom, too. You're like ghosts in your own lives. And I thought maybe if you met someone who actually saw you, you'd remember how to be human again. Jessica, I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying I thought it through, but I was desperate, Dad. I've been watching you die slowly for my entire life, working yourself to death, never smiling, never present. And I thought maybe this will wake him up. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't think you'd actually fall for her. I just thought you'd remember what it's like to be seen, to matter. And then maybe you'd come back to us, to me, to Mom. I unbuckled my seatbelt, reached over and hugged my daughter. She sobbed into my shoulder, and I realized with terrible clarity how blind I'd been. My daughter had been trying to save me. At 28 years old, she'd orchestrated an intervention because she couldn't watch me disappear anymore. I'm sorry, I said. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, she cried. I just wanted my dad back. We sat there in the parked car, two broken people trying to figure out how to fix what had been broken for so long. That afternoon, I called Sarah, asked to meet. One more time. She suggested a park, neutral ground. We sat on a bench overlooking a pond where ducks paddled in lazy circles. Jessica told you, she said. Not a question. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have told you from the beginning. But she was so earnest, so worried about you. And then I met you, and I saw that deadness in your eyes. And I thought, maybe I can help. Maybe I can't save myself, but I can help someone else remember how to live. Were any of it real, I asked? The conversations, the connection, all of it. She looked at me. Every word, every moment. I wasn't lying about my mom or David or the pills. And I wasn't lying when I said I see you. I do. You're a good man, Robert. A good man who forgot how to be himself. I don't know who that is. Then figure it out. She smiled. Sad but genuine. You have people who love you. A daughter who cares so much she orchestrated this whole thing. A wife who's brave enough to tell you the truth. Don't waste that. Don't waste the wake-up call. What about you? I'll be fine. I'm seeing a therapist now. Making real friends. Building a life that doesn't revolve around surviving grief. It's hard, but it's real. She stood up, extended her hand. Goodbye, Robert. Thank you for reminding me that broken people can still recognize each other, that we're not as alone as we think. I shook her hand, held it for a moment. Thank you, Sarah, for seeing me, even if it wasn't quite real. It was real, she said firmly. Yeah, that's the thing about connections. The circumstances might be manufactured, but the feelings never are. You felt seen because I saw you. That was real. She walked away. I watched her go, this young woman who'd accidentally become my mirror, showing me what I'd lost and what I might. That was 18 months ago. I'm sitting here now, 60 years old, in a coffee shop I've come to love. Not the one where Sarah and I had our last real conversation, a different one. One I found on my own. It's Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. I have nowhere to be. Nothing urgent. No deliveries, no shifts. And for the first time in my adult life, that doesn't terrify me. Let me tell you what happened. The real story, not the fairy tale, not the tragedy. Just the truth. Margaret and I went to counseling. 13 sessions over 6 months. Dr. Patricia Chen, a woman in her 60s who'd seen it all and had no patience for bullshit. The first session, we sat on opposite ends of her couch, not touching, barely looking at each other. She asked us a simple question: why are you here? Margaret said, to fix our marriage. I said, and to figure out if our marriage can be fixed. Dr. Chen nodded. At least you're honest. That's the start. Over those months, we excavated 30 years of accumulated resentment, disappointment, and unspoken expectations. We dug through layers of silence to find the hurt underneath. And God, there was so much hurt. Margaret told me about the night 23 years ago when she'd tried to talk to me about feeling lonely, and I'd fallen asleep in front of the TV. How she'd cried in the bathroom and decided right then that she'd never be vulnerable with me again. I told her about Jessica's 8th birthday, how I'd promised to be there, how I'd missed it for a delivery that paid time and a half, and how I'd felt like such a failure that I just shut down, stopped trying. Because trying and failing hurt more than not trying at all. We uncovered the moment our marriage died. Not when I met Sarah. That was just the moment we noticed the corpse. The actual death had occurred years earlier, in 1,000 small moments of choosing silence over honesty, convenience over connection. So what do you want now, Doctor? Chen asked in session 9. Knowing everything you know, having said everything you've said, what do you actually want? Margaret looked at me. I looked at her. I want to know if we can fall in love again, Margaret said. Not with who we were 30 years ago, but with who we are now. With our scars and failures and disappointments, I want to know if it's possible to choose each other again. And you, Robert, I want the same thing, but I'm terrified it's too late. That we've hurt each other too much. That we're too tired to start over. Starting over is young people's work, Dr. Chen said. You're not starting over. You're starting different. With 60 years of life experience between you. That's not a weakness. It's a resource. We decided to try. Not because we were in love. Not because it was easy. But because we'd spent 30 years building something, and before we demolished it, we wanted to make absolutely sure it couldn't be renovated. We started with small things. Tuesday morning coffee dates. No phones. Just talking about anything except Jessica or bills or the house. At first it was awkward. What do you say to someone you've known for 30 years but don't really know at all? But slowly, very slowly, we started to find each other again. Or maybe for the first time. I learned that Margaret had always wanted to paint. That she'd taken classes in college but gave it up when we got married because there wasn't time and it seemed frivolous. She learned that I used to write poetry. Terrible poetry, but poetry nonetheless. That I'd filled notebooks with bad verse in my 20s and thrown them all away when we bought the house because grown men with mortgages don't write poetry. We'd both murdered parts of ourselves, buried them under the weight of responsibility and respectability, and the exhausting work of being adults. On one of our Tuesday mornings, Margaret asked, what if we gave ourselves permission? Permission for what? To be who we want to be. To paint and write bad poetry and waste time on things that don't earn money or achieve anything except making us happy. I started laughing, actually laughing, because it sounded so simple and so impossible all at once. But we tried. Margaret turned the spare bedroom into a studio, bought canvases and paints, spent hours making terrible, wonderful messes. Her paintings aren't good. She'll tell you that herself, but they're hers. And watching her create, seeing the joy on her face when she's mixing colors, is more beautiful than any masterpiece. I started writing again. Poems, essays, fragments of thoughts. I'm not going to publish them. They're not for anyone else. But they're for me. And that matters. I also quit driving. Not completely, we still need money, but I cut back to 3 days a week. Part-time. Enough to pay bills, but not enough to kill me. With the extra time, I started volunteering at a literacy center, teaching adults to read. Immigrants, mostly. People who came to this country with nothing and are trying to build lives. One of my students is a 62-year-old man from Somalia. He told me, I survived war. I crossed ocean. I can learn to read. And he did. 3 months ago, he read his first book cover to cover. Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. He wept when he finished it. That moment watching him achieve something he'd thought impossible reminded me why being human matters. Why connection matters. Why being alive is more than just not being dead. As for Jessica, she's thriving. Got promoted at work. Started dating someone, a good guy, we think. Though I'm still the overprotective dad who checks his background. She comes over for dinner twice a month now. Real dinners, where we actually talk. Last month, she brought her boyfriend to meet us. His name is Marcus. He's 31, an engineer, kind eyes. At one point, Margaret excused herself to get dessert, and Jessica leaned over to me. Dad, I'm sorry. For what I did. With Sarah. That whole thing. I know. But I'm also not sorry. 'Cause look at you now. You're alive again. She was right. I was alive. Not in some grand, dramatic way, but in small daily ways that added up to something real. Thank you, I told her, for caring enough to intervene, even if it was misguided and borderline unethical. She laughed. It was definitely unethical. But you're welcome. Now about Sarah. You're probably wondering what happened to her. We haven't spoken since that day in the park. I think about her sometimes. Wonder how she's doing. Hope she's found peace. About 6 months ago, Jessica mentioned that Sarah had moved to Portland. Got a new job. Met someone. A therapist, ironically. Someone who understands trauma and healing. I'm glad. She deserves happiness. She deserves someone who can meet her where she is, not someone using her as a mirror for their own dysfunction. Looking back, I can see clearly now what I couldn't see then. I wasn't in love with Sarah. I was in love with being seen, with mattering, with feeling human. She was a catalyst, not a destination. She showed me I was dying, but she couldn't make me live. That work, the hard daily work of choosing to be present, to be vulnerable, to be real, that was on me. As for Margaret and me, are we in love now? Honestly, I don't know. But we're trying. Every day we're choosing each other again. And some days are good. We laugh. We talk. We remember why we got married in the first place. Other days are hard. The resentments resurface. The old patterns try to reassert themselves. We have to actively fight against 30 years of conditioning. But even the hard days are better than the numbness, because at least we're feeling something. At least we're alive. Last week we were in the kitchen. Margaret was cooking. I was setting the table. Old routine. But then she turned to me and said, Robert, dance with me. What? Dance with me. Right now. No music. Just dance. So we did. In our kitchen with no music, just the sound of the stove timer ticking and the refrigerator humming, we danced. It was awkward. We stepped on each other's feet. We laughed at how ridiculous we looked. But it was also perfect because it was real, spontaneous, alive. That's what I've learned. Life isn't about grand gestures or dramatic transformations. It's about Tuesday morning coffees and kitchen dances and choosing connection over comfort. It's about painting bad paintings and writing bad poetry and teaching 62-year-old refugees to read Dr. Seuss. It's about saying, I see you and meaning it. About being seen and not running away from it. I'm 60 years old. I've wasted decades being invisible, being numb, being functional instead of human. But I'm not wasting any more time. To anyone listening to this story, especially those of you who recognize yourselves in it, I want to say something. It's not too late. Whatever age you are, whatever mistakes you've made, whatever life you've sleepwalked through, you can wake up. It's not easy. It requires courage and honesty and the willingness to be uncomfortable. But it's possible. You are not invisible. You are not just a function. You are a person with intrinsic value, regardless of what you produce or provide. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to matter. You deserve to feel alive. And if you've forgotten how, if you've spent years or decades going through the motions, start small. One Tuesday morning coffee. One honest conversation. One moment of choosing vulnerability over safety. Start with one person who might see you. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your child. Maybe it's a stranger at a coffee shop. Maybe it's yourself looking in the mirror and finally acknowledging that you exist, that you matter, that you're here. I'm here right now, 60 years old, drinking coffee in a shop I love, writing bad poetry in a notebook no one will ever read. And I've never felt more